Thank you, Dustin. I think Jack had a good point. You know, this is a little more difficult than we think. But first, I'd like to thank the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame Board for everything they do for our community and putting on this wonderful event, because it should be congratulated. Also, I'd like to congratulate Kate Hageman and the Frank Wallace family. They're very deserving folks. But last spring, Joel Smith, who's the president of the Hall of Fame, and Dr. Kim McRae, called me and asked me if I would be willing to introduce Jake Barnes and Clay O'Brien-Cooper. And of course, any avid team roper knows who they are, and everyone knows who they are. And I said, just jumped at it. I said, man, I'd love to do that. Little did I know the next 3 months I wouldn't sleep very good thinking about it. I mean, every night, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I said, how do you do that? I mean, how do you tell people that are your idols? You know, I'm obviously quite a bit older than them, but they've been everybody that's team roped, and I know the Miner family's here, and a lot of you folks out here rope. These guys are our idols. I mean, there's no, if Michael Jordan was here and we were basketball fans, these are the Michael Jordans of professional rodeo. Joel Powell did a wonderful job in the Ellensburg Daily Record, which I have copies for you guys. It was 4 pages talking about the success they've had in rodeo. I'm not going to sit here for the next 4 hours and tell you that they have won every prestigious roping. They've run every rodeo. I made a couple of quick, and I'm going to say these are kind of like the Super Bowls of things, but 56 times they've qualified for the NFR. 56 times the two of these guys have qualified. 7 times they've been world champions. At the NFR, 3 times they won the average, and correct me if I'm wrong on some of these. They have a record that's pretty amazing. They roped 10 steers 25 years ago at the NFR. 25 years ago, it's never been broke. They roped 10 steers in 59.1 seconds. You know, and that record's still out there today for all these young ropers. We're around it, and we see these kids get quicker and quicker, but you know, it's that ability to, you know, to under the pressure and succeed, you know. So anyway, things were getting tough, you know, so my wonderful wife Jo said, this is like 2 weeks ago now, and I still haven't got prepared. And she said, well, go to the internet. Everything's on the internet. Now Marie Smith worked with me for 20-some years in the real estate business. I got an art and a PE degree 50 years ago at Central Washington State College. It wasn't a university. We didn't have computers. And Marie will attest to this because she would run the computer for me. Anyway, so I don't know how to run a computer. So I finally get on there and I write in and I put Jake Barnes and Clay O'Brien-Cooper records. Well, something pops up and they want me to pay money to look at your police blotter stuff. True story. Do it. It's worth doing. I didn't pay, but they didn't do it. So now we're about a week ago, I'm going to say, same question. Joe's been having some heck, but now she's fixed up, you know. And she said, have you got your stuff done? And I said, no, but it's just get on the internet. So I go back to the internet. Guess what? You guys have probably got 500 videos of you roping, and I watched 300 of them. and they're great. You know, and the one thing I got to ask you though is, most of my buddies, and some of them are sitting here, we don't look like that when we rope. So I don't know why you can do those videos, you know, because it doesn't do us any good. And a little sidelight, Jake Smith and Clay Smith. Now there's a name, Jake and Clay, right? They're very good professional ropers. They're going to make the finals. Clay's made it a few times. I think Jake's going to probably make it this year. They're staying out at our house. We were driving out the driveway tonight, and I saw him, and I said, Clay, I said, did your mom and dad name you after? Oh yeah, they just got great big grins. And I thought, how many kids are named after Jake? I got 2 grandkids, Clay McClure, my grandson. So hallelujah for you guys. That's it. Well, time's running out. We've watched the videos, you know, and like yesterday is our roping, you know, and that's been quite an undertaking for our family. Interesting sidelight on our roping. We've put our roping on 17 years. These 2 gentlemen won the first one, the very first one. During that time, they've placed 11 times. That roping, and I'm bragging on the roping, it's got the top ropers in the United States, the best of the best. That's what we call it. And it was again yesterday. We had 100 fresh Mexican cattle that had never been to a rodeo or a jackpot. And I mean, if you were able to go out and watch it, I mean, these things flew, you know. And I mean, the Cowboys broke them in Monday, and they had them nice, and they were fun watching. 95 teams at all ages, and at the very end, the old story, you know, the cream comes to the crop, and Logan Olson and Clay O'Brien-Cooper won the rope yesterday. And the kind of people they are, I think, is more important to know than their accomplishments in the arena. We're done, and the Daily Record was out there. We're taking some pictures, and we give some awards and give them their money. And Clay was standing against the fence with Logan and the other contestants that had won. And anyway, Patrick Smith, who a lot of you know, that's Trevor Brazil's main partner, has been a two-time world champion. Patrick was standing beside me. Patrick roped with Charlie Crawford, and they won second. And he looked me in the eye and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm one of the competitive guys you're ever going to be around." But he says, "I love that guy right over there." And he said, "I don't mind losing to him." And I thought, that speaks very well of these guys. Just, I mean, what their contestants, their fellow competitors think of them. I mean, as much as they want to win, he said, "I love that guy." And he said, I like it. So the last thing she said, "Well, just tell them what kind of people they are." Two little quick stories. I think 3 years ago, Jake was about to have his knee replaced. It was bad. He was up here. He stays in great shape, as you can tell. He's riding a bicycle around our place over and over and over. He's riding a bike up and down the hill. And we go out after dinner, and I hear all these little kids laughing and screaming, and there's people. It's dark. You know, we got lights out there. Anyway, there's water. They made mud. And the asphalt, they had water. He's pulling these little plastic kids roping dummies. So these 3 to 7-year-old kids, the only person that had bigger smiles was him, because he pulled them through, and this is a 10th round of the NFL. You got to be 6'3", like that, and they all scream. Their mothers were there videoing, you know, and their mothers, their grandparents, you know, just sitting there. So the next morning, his partner in crime, he's leaving. Yesterday, we figured we had 175 trailers in our place with the contestants. So you know what it's like out there. You can't find a stall, you can't find a bucket, you can't even, just kind of, you can't turn the water on out there anymore. There's a story there. Anyway, Clay's driving out, and we're friends, you know, and I said, "Hey, where are you going?" "Oh, I don't know, I think you were going to Linden or someplace to a rodeo." And it was midday. And I, you know, trying to be nice to him, I said, "Well, I'll save your stall or something." And he says, "No," he said, "I'm going to be back tomorrow, but a lot of these guys are going to come back tonight, and it's going to be dark. Go ahead and give them my stall." Does that sound like a guy that's, you know, got an ego or something else? And then just little things like that, you know, and it just... So, okay, now we're down to yesterday. We're getting close to being done here. So, yesterday, Justin and I are having coffee together. Joe's there, and she's getting ready to do her trip to Seattle. And I asked Justin, true story, I said, "Justin, help me." I said, "You do such a good job, you know, talking about people." And I said, "Your vocabulary." And I said, "I want these guys to really feel honored when they're here, because what they are and who they are." And I said, "But I can't do it." And I said, "I just, you know, I don't know the words right and everything else." And so I'm going to surprise Justin here for just a little second. I said, he told me something for just a minute or two, and Joe Regan wrote it down, all those little notes down the side. And I said, "So I'm going to ask Justin just to come up and repeat what he told me yesterday, because it was so cool, and you need to hear it from him, not from me."
When we were having coffee, he said, "So what's your opinion of these guys?" And I said, "Well, it's as high as you can get, first of all." I said, "There's two things that I think about when you think about it." I said, "When you think of Jake Barnes, you think, and then the ropers will tell you the same thing, he's a warrior." That's the word that they would use. I mean, he has treated his profession like he was going to war. And he stayed up late, he's gotten up early, and he's outworked everybody. His work ethic is what's made him a 7-time world champion. And it's just been inspiring. And Clay O'Brien-Cooper grew up in John Wayne movies, grew up in Hollywood, knowing all the old stars that we used to watch and still enjoy. And here's a guy that has won all these great rodeos, a guy that is kind of like a real live John Wayne. He subdued an unruly passenger on an airplane trying to get in the cockpit just a few years ago. I mean, literally does stuff like that. And if there's anybody that has a reason to have an ego, it's Clay O'Brien Cooper, and he doesn't even have one. That's Clay O'Brien Cooper. There's no common guy there is. I told Scott, I said, you know what I think when I think about these guys? I think anybody from the Western culture that's got cowboy kids, their moms and dads ought to write a thank you note to these guys and their families, because they have had an influence on all of us somewhere along the line. Not in the arena, but morally. These guys are people of excellence and great character. Excellence and great character. The two greatest qualities that you can have. And it has filtered down through all of these people all over the United States. There are kids being raised right today because their parents was influenced, because these guys were their role model. Every rope company, every saddle company, every saddle pad and bridle company, anything that has to do with rope and horses, ought to send them Christmas presents every year, because they've been so huge for the entire industry. No pair has done more and influenced more. But above all the things they've done, and even the inspiration that they have shown us physically and in the arena, it has to do with one thing, and that is they know who they are. They know their purpose. And very few people know and live the purpose of life. And they have done that. And the purpose of life is to love God with all of your heart and love your neighbor like yourself. They not only believe it, but they've lived it. And in doing so, they have made this world a much, much, much better place. So with that said, let's bring up the Chains. James Barnes and Clay O'Brien Cooper. Hallelujah.
First of all, I'd just like to thank God for, such a wonderful life and such a wonderful career. I've been really blessed, inside and outside the arena. Tell you how this kind of got all started. In 1980, one of your homeboys gave me a call and wanted me to start roping with an Alan Bach. And so Alan's pretty much the reason that I started rodeo professionally. The Ellensburg Rodeo's got a special place, because his family was from here. Courtney and Catherine Bach and Mike Bach, the family was raised here. And so, this is a special time of the year, for the cowboys to come out. Been rodeoing all over the country throughout the year. And we start off, up here in the Northwest and come to wall to wall in here in Ellensburg. And so many people come to town here. So many of the families here open their homes and their ranches up and let us come and stay and have barbecues, and the Miner families, the Andersons. That means a lot to the cowboys, and so that's been a blessing to all of us cowboys. And now coming to the Ellensburg Rodeo, thank you for inducting Clay and I into your Hall of Fame. This is something really special. We got inducted into the PRCA Rodeo Hall of Fame, and so now then, this is probably the only rodeo that I know that inducts cowboys into their Rodeo Hall of Fame, and so this is an honor to be inducted into this. And I remember the first year that I came to Ellensburg with Alan, as a rookie traveling around and seeing the country, and this rodeo's really unique to me, to come and see the relay races coming down the hill, the Indian races, the county calf roping, the wild cow milking. I'd never seen anything like that before. So, I was one of the biggest spectators. And, another thing, I'm sure you've all been fishing before, and, you get to a spot and you catch a lot of fish, and that's kind of your honey hole, there are certain rodeos that you go to throughout the year that you have, good luck and good success. And, this has been a really good rodeo to me. And I've done really well here. And I'm always, anytime that you have success, you really enjoy it. But I enjoy this time up here in the Northwest, and the rodeo committee. They're hospitable to all of us and make us feel like family. And I've got to know, so many different people here. And it's just such a great honor. And not only that, but, all the success that I've had, my job was pretty easy because, I got to roll with Alan. Alan and I had a lot of success, but more than anything, having, through my eyes, the greatest healer of all times, Barnes&O'BrienCooper, rolling behind me, and we won 7 world championships. And like Justin says, you don't really realize it at the time, but God's got a purpose, in your life, and so being a champion and conducting ourselves inside and outside the arena, is one of the things that we try to. We put a great honor in that. So that's about all I gotta say. It's been a great ride. It's been a journey, and I just give all the glory to God.
I love sitting there listening to the stories about the people that have spent their lives serving a purpose, serving your community, serving one another, being part of something that's bigger than yourself. And to me, that's what makes life worthwhile, is the people that are behind the scenes that don't hardly ever get noticed, but are there day in and day out, that you can count on at all good times and bad. So tonight it honors Jake and I that you would honor us. I'm the same as Jake. I feel very blessed to have been able to live my dream. As a little kid, I dreamed about being a rodeo cowboy and about traveling all over the country to big rodeos like Ellensburg, Washington, and having success and enjoying that life, and I've truly been able to do that. Ellensburg is one of my favorite rodeos. I rodeoed most of this year, but I went home for a couple of weeks, but I entered Ellensburg because Ellensburg's very special to me. The first time I ever came here in 1981, I won the rodeo, and I was like, yes. Ellensburg Ellensburg has its own flavor, atmosphere. The town, I love the town, I love the people. People like y'all, Scott and Joe Rebb, that have let us come stay at their house for a couple of weeks during the rodeo season here in the Northwest. And so it's a special time. The rodeo is important. When you're competing for championships, Ellensburg is an important stop because it's one of the last big ones to try to catapult yourself up the standings or get into the finals. So it's important that way. Also, it's the perfect time of year because we've been rodeoing out here in the hot summer and burning up the road, and it seems like fall hits at Ellensburg, and you feel that cool blast come in, and it's so refreshing. So I want to thank the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame for inducting Jake and I, and the committee, and all of the folks that put their sweat and hard work into making Ellensburg a great rodeo for many years. And I also want to tell Jake thank you for being my partner and my friend and the greatest hunter of all time.